Peace, love, and liberation to the family. Blessings. I want to welcome you all to the DarusCorbin Mystery School. Thank you for joining me. This is the home of the esoteric knowledge and also the metaphysical knowledge. I thank you for watching. To my scholars, to my brethren in general for watching. Thank you for joining me. This is going to be an amazing presentation. Shit. Now, before I go in, and thank you for the ones who have watched my previous presentation. Thank you for those who have watched my previous videos. I hope you have learned. I hope you took a lot with you, and I hope you will continue to grow off of with the gnosis that you have learned from my channel. Tonight will be no different. I do have a question before I start to my black people, my African Americans, to my melanated people. I have a question that I want you to hold. And for every other race that is here watching, hold on. Don't go nowhere because it's just about to get good. So please hold on. But for my African Americans, my blacks, I do have a question for you.
First of all,
and we're going to get for that in a minute. We have the Black Lives Movement. We have NAACP. We have these movements. But I personally want to know from black people, for those who are watching, does the Black Lives matter? And not the movement, but does Black Lives matter to you? Now, before you get emotional, I want you to think about this. Does Black Lives matter to you? Before we can worry about what this race is doing to us and what this race is doing to us, my first question before I start is black people, African American people, does Black Lives matter to you? Now, like I said, hold on to that question, because by the end of it, you're going to be forced to ask that question again. For every other race, thank you for watching. Before I start, I'm going to first off by saying this. If you are looking for race bashing, if you're looking for any racism or attacks on any race, then please leave the channel. I am a scholar. I am the son of the divine father and mother of this universe and of this planet. I come with a message. Us as humankind on this planet has been spiritually lacking, spiritually dormant, because of information that has been withheld, not just from certain races, but as humanity all together. So my question to black people, and I just asked, the reason why I asked, does it matter to you? Because there is certain information that has been hidden from not just black people, but definitely races in general, that we're going to have to address as the spiritual evolution evolves and the age of Aquarius is among us. Now, before you think I get ahead of myself, I'm going to start this presentation. Remember what I asked. Now, for those who watched Darwinism and my presentation I did on Darwinism, thank you again. But I had the general on there, and the general asked a question. Now, the general is all over news now. He's all over Fox News, CNN. But he was on a presentation that I last did, and he asked a question, and I answered that question, and I want to go in 2.0 mode, and I want to go in 2.0 mode and continue the question he asked. But just in case you forgot that question, let's revisit that. Let's revisit that. Thank you for watching the DarusCorbin channel. Mystery School. Class is in session. Let's go.
first of all, on the issue of critical race theory, etc., I'll obviously have to get my smarter on whatever the theory is. But I do think it's important, actually, for those of us in uniform to be open-minded and be widely read. And the United States Military Academy is a university. And it is important that we train and we understand. And I want to understand white rage. And I'm white. And I want to understand it. So what is it that caused thousands of people to assault this building and try to overturn the Constitution of the United States of America. What caused that? I want to find that out. I want to maintain an open mind here, and I do want to analyze it. It's important that we understand that because our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians, they come from the American people. So it is important that the leaders, now and in the future, do understand it. I've read Mao Zedong. I've read Karl Marx. I've read Lenin. That doesn't make me a communist. So what is wrong with understanding, having some situational understanding about the country for which we are here to defend? And I personally find it offensive that we are accusing the United States military, our general officers, our commissioned, non-commissioned officers, of being, quote, woke or something else because we're studying some theories that are out there. That was started at Harvard Law School years ago, and it proposed that there were laws in the United States, antebellum laws prior to the Civil War, that led to a power differential with African Americans that were 3/4 of a human being when this country was formed. And then we had a Civil War and Emancipation Proclamation to change it. And we brought it up to the Civil Rights Act in 1964. It took another 100 years to change that. So look, I do want to know. And I respect your service, and you and I are both Green Berets. But I want to know. And it matters to our military and the discipline and cohesion of this military. And I thank you for the opportunity to make it.
Thank you, General.
Thank you, Jack.
Bear with me. The thing I learned on my spiritual journey, when I got a chance to understand who the true Christ was, and who Jesus really was, through the esoteric teachings, you got to be willing to die about the truth if you're going to speak it. You have to be willing to die about the truth if you are willing and wanting to speak it. Well, you guys have heard me said for a while now, I am the son of the mother God. I am the true son of the divine Father and Mother God. I am about my parents' business, letting people know on this planet that they are greater. But how can you know that you are greater if the main people that supposedly run this world has held the truth from who you are? Are you ready? This is going to be a very intense presentation, guys. I need you to listen up. Listen. Grab your pens. Grab your pads. I am willing to die about this. I'm not going nowhere no time soon. But Christ is within you. Stop looking and stop going to your churches looking for God. God is within you. There should be no church, that no middleman that comes between you and who the God is. But let's continue. I don't have too much time. You need to get this to work. Are you ready? Well, what's the title? I ain't even hear no title yet. Let me get to it. The title for tonight, guys, the hidden power of the whites. Oh, shit, I don't know if I want to watch this. How we as humankind are going to get the spiritual blessings that is owed to us if we keep on playing the race game. There's a truth that need to be held accountable for. There's a truth that needs to be exposed. There's a truth that certain people on this planet have, Vatican, that the people need at this time. I'm sorry, sir. Can you go back to the name of the title? No problem. The hidden power of the whites. DarusCorbin presents, and the Mystery School presents, The Hidden Powers of the Whites. Listen. The secret religion withheld from the primal people. Now listen, I'm only 10 minutes in. If you think you are not ready for this presentation, I advise you to just stop and bop somewhere else on some other channel. This is the Mystery School because it's the mysteries that they kept from you. After you watch this, you decide where you want to take this information. I am a messenger, a Christ messenger. My job, I'm doing it. Your job is to pursue it. Let's go. Are y'all around there? I know, I know. But for the ones who really gonna watch, you're in for a treat tonight. Let's go in. Tonight's presentation will be called The Hidden Power of the Whites, the Secret Religion Withheld from the Primal People. And I need all my college folks who say they got all their doctorates and they're well trained and well schooled to listen up. To my people with the street smarts, you are very, very well needed at this time. Listen up. This is time for people to go off of their soul and what their soul feels, not off of intellect. You can use that as well, but this is soul. If I read this right and your soul connects, I am telling your story, no matter how it's being read. Are you ready to hear your story? Let's go. Once again, it's called The Hidden Power of the Whites, the Secret Religion Withheld from the Primal Peoples. Let's go. I need your attention. Let's start the show. The interaction between Western culture and its Christian religion and the primal cultures of the world has been proceeding with every accelerating speed. Ever since the era of European expansion commenced late in the 15th century. In the interactions, it is inevitable that the stronger and more sophisticated culture is encountered, assimilated, and understood only in a selective fashion. On the part of the stronger culture, which becomes more donor than recipient, this selection and modification are partly unconscious and partly a matter of policy, where certain elements are withheld for reasons of political control, prestige, parental kindness, or desire to minimize the culture shock arising from the encounter. The weaker primal culture also makes its own selection from what it offered to do. The weaker primal culture also makes its own selection from what is offered to it and adds its own interpretation. The interaction process, therefore, in the context of cultures is exceedingly complex. No one ever knows exactly what is happening, and serious misunderstandings occur on both sides without anyone realizing that they are misunderstandings. This is also by H.W. Tucker, by the way. This is hard to get this. Last night I tried to upload this and it wouldn't load. Had me thinking it wasn't even meant for me to give you this presentation. But this morning it uploaded, so I am glad. Let's start that again. The hidden powers of the whites, the secret religion withheld from the primal peoples. Family, thank you. Let's go. The interaction between Western culture and its Christian religion and primal cultures of the world has been proceeding with every accelerating speed ever since the era of European expansion commenced late in the 15th century. In this interaction, it is inevitable that the stronger and more sophisticated culture is encountered, assimilated, and understood, only in a selective fashion, on the part of the stronger culture, which becomes more donor than recipient than selections and modifications. More donor than recipient, this selection and modification are partly unconscious and partly a matter of policy, where certain elements are withheld for reasons of political control, prestige, parental kindness, or desire to minimize the culture shock arising from the counter. The weaker primal culture also makes its own selection from what is offered to it and adds its own interpretation. The interaction process, therefore, in the context of cultures is exceedingly complex. No one ever knows exactly what is happening, and serious misunderstandings occur on both sides without anyone realizing that there are misunderstandings. Let's go in. Western cultures are never received as integral wholes, but only through selections from their political, judicial, commercial, educational, and religious systems, and from their technological selections, abstracted from the history's values, a meaning of the total context in which they can be understood and from which these systems receive their power. When the selected aspect of white culture transplanted into primal societies do not speedily bring the full knowledge and power of the whites to the primal peoples, the latter may explain the mystery in a way that is rational and quite correct. There must be more to it than we have seen, and the whites are withholding something important from us. Now, I'm going to read that again because I told you I am not playing. I don't have time to play. This is a mystery school. It's time to learn. And if you stay for the whole thing, you are forever blessed. Some people don't have the patience. They want microwave shit. I'm giving you the full course meal, and you're going to have room for dessert. This is for all races. Don't come with that racism shit here. I'm teaching all races. Let's go again. Western cultures are never received as integral wholes, but only through selections from their political, judicial, commercial, educational, and religious systems, and from their technology selections abstracted from history values and meanings of total context in which they can be understood and from which these systems receive their power. When the selected aspects of white culture transplanted into primal societies do not speedily bring the full knowledge and power of the whites to the primal people, the latter may explain the mystery in a way that is irrational and quite correct. There must be more to it than we have seen. And the whites are withholding something important from us. The situation has occurred in all 5 continents of white Christian expansion and missionary activity, and is expressed in beliefs to be found in primal societies across the world, and especially in their own new religious movements. Beliefs that the whites have neither revealed the full secrets of their Christianity nor given the local peoples the full of the true Bible. The suspicion or focus on these, the spiritual dimensions of white culture, since for most primal cultures, the ultimate sources of power are magical and ritual, mystical or spiritual. It is only through full access to the white man's religion, therefore, that the local people can both explain and share in the power of the whites. I recognize that there are many exceptions to this thesis, as for example, the Niger Delta people who are as early as the 1870s petitioned for secular subjects rather than religious teachings in mission schools. But this religious interpretation of the sources of power is only the first of many ways in which primal cultures are strongly preconditioned to misunderstand the Christian religion of the white peoples. As a further cultural factor, there is the common belief that the power is related to the secret knowledge possessed only by the magician or the priest or by those who have been initiated into one of the secret societies so often found among primal peoples. Among primal peoples. It was only to be expected, therefore, that the source of the impressive power of the Europeans would be most closely guarded or known only to the few. We are told, for instance, of the old and serious-minded, and I want you guys to write this down because I didn't get a chance before I got to do this presentation to write this down, but I think this is a name that both of us is going to have to remember. And let's read that again. It was only to be expected, therefore, that the source of this impressive power of the Europeans would be most closely guarded or known only to the few. Excuse me. We are told, for instance, of an old and serious-minded Maori or Maori. That's M-A-O-R-I. M-A-O-R-I. And once again, that's M-A-O-R-I. We are told, for instance, of an old and serious-minded Maori warrior in New Zealand. Listen, who consulted W.E. Golden on the subject of the scriptures. After 40 years studying them, he had concluded that there was nothing in them available to him. Let me read that again. It was only to be expected, therefore, that the source of the impressive power of the Europeans would be most closely guarded or known only to the few. We are told, for instance, of an old and serious-minded Maori warrior in New Zealand who consulted W.E. Gudegon, and that's Gudegon, W.E. Gudegon, on the subject of the scriptures. After 40 years of this warrior, after 40 years studying them, he had concealed there was nothing in them available to him. After 40 years studying them, he had concluded that there was nothing in them available to him. And that the key to the great book was in the hands of the bishops who selfishly kept to themselves all that was of real value. Now, family, I'll only be kicking it for 21 minutes. Listen and stop playing with yourselves. When Gudegon protested that he had never heard of any such thing, he was cut off with the sarcastic remark that since he was not a bishop, it was hardly likely that he would know anything about it. And I quote, "For," said the old warrior, "it is not the Maoris only who are being defrauded, but the Europeans." He was saying it's not only us, y'all, playing. You playing yourself by holding this knowledge. The reason is clearly culturally based. The Maori Tohungas, and that's spelled Tohungas, the Maori Tongas, or medicine men, kept their powerful incantations in their own hands, and likewise the bishop, as a superior class of Tohunga, would keep the really powerful parts of the Bible from the lower clergy and the laity. Y'all need to listen up now. And to make sure you got notes to take this down. From Papua New Guinea, and that's P-A-P-U-A, New Guinea, or New Guinea, we're going to say New Guinea, that sounds more better. From Papua, that's P-A-P-U-A, New Guinea, we have current reports of the same explanation being found for successful secular activities on the part of the individual in Bougainville in the 1960s. Paul Lepun, who had long been a Catholic teacher, became a successful political leader in the National Assembly by his own abilities and the ordinary political processes. Many of his supporters, however, attributed his success to secret knowledge and magic powers he had learned as a school teacher from the Catholic missionaries and the sacred Christian books. Likewise, the same explanation was offered when another ex-teacher in a Catholic school in the S. Madang district made a conspicuous success of his trade store. Instead of failing, as so many local entrepreneurs have done, it was not a matter of rational organization, hard work, or business acumen, but of spiritual and secret knowledge learned from the priest. Now, I'm going to stop there because I know these words are here and everywhere, but I kind of want to bring you guys back to speed on 24 minutes right now. So we are hearing that the Europeans in the ancient times knew that the primal man, and when we say primal man, we mean that the blacks, we mean the Indians, we mean the indigenous, we mean the aboriginals, that they held a secret power within them. They knew that they were secret powers, but the conquerors of them people at the times withheld the power that these people had. And it's, bear with me, people, because for the ones who stick with me, they get it. Leave comments. Let me know what y'all think, man. Like, seriously, this is about to get good. This notion of a secret wisdom or of a knowledge as yet undiscovered that would provide the way to success or the answer to current misfortunes pervades many primal cultures. It provides striking testimony to man's belief that his life can and should be better than it is, and supplies some of the dynamic for innovation even in the apparently conservative primal societies. Let me read that part again and listen up. This notion of secret wisdom or of a knowledge as yet undiscovered that would provide the way to success or the answer to current misfortunes pervades many primal cultures. It provides striking testimony to man's belief that his life can and should be better than it is and supplies some of the dynamic for innovation even in the apparently conservative primal societies. So the fact that the Europeans discovered this magic from the Aboriginals, from the primal people, they were like, yes, the fact that these people have magic is proof that we shouldn't be living like this as Europeans, that we shouldn't be in these caves, that we shouldn't be animal-like, that we can be an intellect, that we can rise above these primal people and conquer them. As a third cultural factor leading to this, as a third cultural factor leading to this interpretation, there is a common belief in an original wisdom or knowledge, sometimes even contained in a book that was given by the gods at the creation and included all the things known to the whites and more, but which has been the victim of some primal misfortune or subsequent human wrongdoing. Listen, guys, I knew what I just said was a mouthful, but I am going to repeat it again because this shit has been withheld from you. The reason why you go to church and you only feel like you're only getting half of what you feel in your soul is because they've been taught for many centuries to withhold who you are. And as much as we don't want to admit that this has to do with race, the people of this planet, the scholars that you already know, you have to admit that this has to do with race. For those who have YouTube and have access to the internet, I want you to download a skit that Richard Pryor did. Richard Pryor once did a skit, I believe, for SNL, where he was in Egypt. Him and these two other Caucasian brothers were in Egypt. Richard Pryor is reading from this book. Richard Pryor, the comedian, the late great comedian, is reading from this book in the skit when they're in the pyramids. This book says that, man, as he reads this book, he said, man, everything in this book is black. Everybody was black. Black people started all this. And they creep back. The Caucasian brothers creep back and they lock them in that pyramid. Go watch that skit. There's a lot of truth into that. And as much as people don't want to talk about race, as much as black people scratch their head every time that another brown black person is murdered, and you're wondering, how is this happening? You have to understand that this has been going on way before anybody on this planet living. This has been going on quite some time. The Queen Elizabeth knows about this. So when we get mad about the people, and for the people who were in the January 6th, what they call that, insurgency or whatever they call that, if you guys have that same energy for the Queen Elizabeth and for the Vatican, who at this time holds the power and the truth to humanity. We are so worried about COVID-19 right now, COVID 20 and 21, and whatever comes out like that. You don't even think and care of the fact that the Vatican holds the truth to humanity. They have secrets in books that can help humanity. The reason they do not let these books go is because the black race are superior, and it's not about race. They know this for a fact. Caucasian brothers and sisters, you know this. We have to stop acting like all this is going on for some coincidence. As I continue to read, it's only going to get worse for these people because they're going to like, what the fuck? Are you serious? This really has been happening? Wake up. Y'all got the right one. I am the son of the mother God. I'm going to read that again, please. As a third cultural factor leading to the interpretation, there is a common belief in an original wisdom or knowledge, sometimes even contained in a book that was given by the gods at the creation and included all the things known to the whites and more, but which has been the victim of some primal misfortune or subsequent human wrongdoing. Among one group of Karen, and it's called Karen Hill people, you're supposed to be having your pen and pad, right? Among one group of Karen Hill peoples of Burma, and that's spelled Burma, the sacred book was believed to have been preserved, but they have forgotten how to read the script. When in 1828, the first Christian, among one group of Karen Hill peoples of Burma, that's spelled Burma, the sacred book was believed to have been preserved, but missionary entered the area. But listen, but missionary entered their area. They hopefully approached him with that turned out to be. Hold up, let me read that again because I get excited sometimes and I don't want y'all to lose focus. Among one group of Karen Hill people of Burma, the sacred book was believed to have been preserved, but they had forgotten how to read the script. When in 1828, the first Christian missionary entered their area, the people, they hopefully approached him with what turned out to be much revered copy of the Anglican Book of Common Prayer. Even more pathetic is the current belief of the Telecon, and that's spelled Tlakkhon cult, among the same Karen that YWA, and I want to say it's Yahweh, but it's spelled YWA. The high God had in the beginning set aside the book to come and collect it. And so it was entrusted instead of to the younger white brothers who had profited from it in the meantime, but would in the end return it and share it with the Karen. God darn. Are y'all getting this? And I know, are y'all getting this? I'm going to read it again. This is fucked up. This is messed up. Where am I at? Listen to this. Among one group of Karen Hill people of Burma, the sacred book was believed to have been preserved, but they forgotten how to read it. The people forgot how to read the sacred book. But in 1828, the first Christian missionary entered their area. The people, it says, they hopefully approached him, the white people, they hopefully approached the white people. They approached him with what turned out to be a much revered copy of the Anglican Book of Common Prayer. And it says, even more pathetic is the current belief of the Telecon, and that's spelled Telakkhon cult, among these same Karen that Yahweh, or it spells YWA, the high God, had in the beginning set aside the book of gold for the Karen. They, however, were too busy with mundane affairs to come and collect it. My gosh. And so was entrusted instead to their younger white brothers, who had profited from it in the meantime, but would in return and share it with the Karen. There was great excitement in the 1960s when a formal invitation went forth from the cult to the missionaries in Thailand to bring their Bible, which was undoubtedly the Book of God, to the cult leaders. An even greater disappointment when it was discovered that the Bible did not tell how to repair a radio, much less all the mysteries of Western science. The missionaries were then accused of withholding the true golden book. The trickery of the whites in securing the original wisdom meant for all appears as a theme in a number of mythologies. Let me read that again. The trickery of the whites in securing in the original wisdom meant for all appears as a theme in a number of mythologies. Let me stop there. God. Well, I got a smart. Y'all are smart. We ain't even have, y'all know where we at here. Some North American Indian people assert that the Christian religion of the white people were originally in the possession of the Indians. Let's read that again. Some North American Indian peoples assert that the Christian religion of the white peoples were originally in the possession of the Indians whose sacred records were stolen by the whites and kept to themselves. The almost total failure to translate the scriptures into Indian vernaculars over nearly 5 centuries of Christian contact lends some support at least to the second part of the indictment. A similar charge has appeared in the possession cults that have appeared over the last 90 years among the Isoko people, and that's spelled Isoko, or the Isoko people of the Nigerian Midwest. They have been given the original Bible, far fuller in content and more powerful than the present version. Did y'all hear that? The Isoko people, and that's spelled Isoko people of the Nigerian Midwest, they have been given the original Bible, far fuller in content and more powerful than the present version. But this had been taken away and either lost or destroyed by the missionaries. The same notion attached to the Book of Life, the secret book allegedly given Alex Lashina, and that's spelled Lenshina. The same notion attached to the Book of Life, the secret book allegedly given Atlas Lashina, the prophetess in Zambia. This is like a black queen right here. Listen to this. It's saying the black queen was given the book. The secret book allegedly given Alice Lashina, the prophetess in Zambia, when she visited heaven. Her followers had never seen it, and in 1955, the rumor spread that a Presbyterian missionary had stolen it and sold it to the Pope. I got time today, guys. And if you got time, I got time. I'm not going to do a part 2. I'm going to see where we're on. Damn it, I might have to do a part 2. You are so focused, people, and I'm talking to the people of the world. You are so focused on COVID-19. You are so focused on idol worshiping that you don't even care that the Vatican, that the Pope, that Queen Elizabeth, they have secret knowledge that if you had it, would free this world of the chains that we are in. The ancient Indians, the people in Hindu, they knew that this world was called Maya. That's Maya. That meant that this world is an illusion. It is entrapped in this illusion. The people who know your shit and have your shit don't want you to know your shit. So they gave you church so you can be obedient and be worshiping to a fearful and a freaking dominant God. And the true God, the inner God, the God that is waiting for you to know who you are so you can know who he is and who she is waiting for you to break through the church, because the church was never meant to be there for you. You don't need no middleman for your salvation. You are the temple. It told you that in the Bible. What the fuck is... Anyway, let's continue going on, because before I know the hour be in here, an hour be gone. For us, the important idea of running through so many different mythologies and legends is that the whites outwitted or cheated the other people, either at the creation or in subsequent allotments of spiritual and powerful gifts to men. And they are still doing so within the Christian religion. Let me read that again. If you came to my channel thinking this is race bashing, this is not. I am a divine messenger. How do you expect us to spiritually evolve? You have dimensions and beings of people in dimensions waiting for us to get it together. But people of this planet, you have to first dethrone the ones that have your power and have been lying to you. You have spiritual flying, levitating. My God, this is nothing. Travel to different dimensions. Like CIA is releasing information right now, letting you know how you can do this through meditation, sun gazing, stargazing. For us, the important idea running through so many different mythologies and legends is that the whites outwitted or cheated the other people, either at the creation or in subsequent allotments of spiritual and powerful gifts to men. And they are still doing so within the Christian religion. As a fourth and final cultural factor often involved in these interpretations, we may mention the ways in which pre-literate cultures often understand the nature and purpose of writing. Let's say that again. As a fourth and final cultural factor often involved in these interpretations, we may mention the ways in which pre-literature cultures often understand nature and purpose of writing. Written words used in a sacred context may be regarded as even more powerful than the spoken words used in their own traditional rituals, whether religious or magical. Literacy, therefore, does not destroy the mystic power of such words as in our simple bonded white assumptions. It may even enhance it. Thus, the Toba people, TOBA, and you should be writing down all these tribes, especially my black people, Black Lives Matter, magical melanated power, black girl magic. Let's talk about this. These are your ancient ancestors. You should be researching them and understand and discover your true power. But anywho, thus the Toba people, or TOBA, of the Argentine treated the Bible as a fetish object and tied it to their sides while dancing or placed it on the sick for healing. And when the Bible began to be translated from a vaguely understood Spanish into Toba, its mystics decreased. They often complained to the Mennonite missionary that he had not shared his deepest religious knowledge with them. And when they asked for Bible study, it was for the special secret knowledge that the missionary had of the Bible. The ritual use of documents as power-filled objects extended to all kinds of writing, hence the great concern with letters, letterheads, rubber stamps, receipts, and certificates. For the most tribal things common among people under white colonial administration. Let me read that again. The ritual use of documents as power-filled objects extended to all kinds of writings, hence the great concerns with letters, letterheads, rubber stamps, receipts, and certificates. For the most tribal things common among people under white colonial administration. But it was the Bible, the great document of the religion of the whites, that attracted this attitude above all other forms of writings. The eager response to the teaching of reading and writings that marked the first phase of so much missionary activity often therefore had other motives than those which governed the mentors and inevitably led to the disillusionment. As Professor Parson of Dundee summed it in a study of, I quote, the literate revolution of Polynesia. And I quote, the Polynesians had plainly believed that the art of reading and writing was the real source, not merely of the technological capacity of the European, but also of his military and political strength. His mana, M-A-N-A, and that they need only master these skills to secure a like preeminence. Then they discover that these were not enough, or at least while they apparently worked in European hands, they dismissively failed in their own. So these Polynesians, in other words, realized that what was working for them and what was working for the whites was totally different. Let me read that again. The Polynesian had plainly believed that the art of reading and writing was the real source, not merely of the technological capacity of the Europeans, but also of his military and political strength. His mana, and that they need only master these skills to secure a like preeminence. Then they discovered that these were not enough, or at least while they apparently worked in European hands, they dismissively failed in their own. Judith Biney made the same point in writing of the Morais, remember? The Maoris, in the first missionary period up to the 1840. Here, literacy became fashionable because of the desire to master the secrets of the European world, which it was assumed were contained in the ritual words. The Bible was adopted because they considered the words themselves contained the power. By an exact, they considered the words themselves contained the power. Excuse me, I repeated that. By an exact recitation of the text, the desired goal, communication with the supernatural, would be achieved. Hence, the actual content may well be irrelevant. What they expected to gain is most blatantly revealed in the heretical cults, material wealth, power, and the knowledge of the Europeans, which were given by God. After all, did not the sacred book itself say, and I quote, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you," end quote. Seeking the kingdom of God was readily translated into ability to read and recite the sacred text, but it did not work. Are y'all all right out there? And to my scholars, you really are breaking this down with me. I know this may seem sound like confusion, but I know y'all are getting it. And that's why I like to reread so we are at the same page as I'm going to do right now. Judith Biney, and I spelled Binney, made the same point in writing of the Maoris, Maors, in the first missionary period up to 1840. Here, and I quote, literacy became fashionable because of the desire to master the secrets of the European world, which it was assumed they considered to the words themselves contained the power. By an exact recitation of the text, the desired goal, communication with the supernatural, would be achieved. Hence, the actual content may be well irrelevant. What they expected to gain is most blatantly revealed in the heretical cults, material wealth, power, and the knowledge of the Europeans, which were given by God. After all, did not the sacred book itself say, and I quote, "Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added unto you," end quote. Seeking the kingdom of God was readily translated into ability to read and recite the sacred book or the sacred text, but it did not work. So I know you guys are getting what I'm breaking down here. The Aboriginals thought that if only they had the Bible that the white man had, that they would really true know the work and the bond of the supernatural, and they could truly be one with God, not knowing that they already had the DNA of God in them, and that their true work was being withheld from them by the whites. Is everybody all right? Does everybody understand that this is a class? This is a mystery school. No different than Akhenaten, one of the aspects of Moses in your Bible did in his time in Egypt when the people fell asleep and they had to be retaught again. All I'm doing is reteaching my people who fell asleep for thousands and thousands of years. It is time to wake up, and I am the one, and so many others beside me are the ones that's going to help do that. So thank you so much. There's a story often found in missionary literature of North America concerning the Flathead Indians of Oregon on the West Coast. They had been visited by a missionary with a Bible from which he taught very early in the 19th century and never forgot the effect he had created. In 1832, listen. In 1832, listen. Four of the North American Flathead Indians set off east some 2,000 miles to the military post of St. Louis, where they asked for a copy of the white man's book of heaven. The commandment received them kindly as a Roman Catholic, as also did the priest to whom he referred them. But as in the manner of the day, there was no Bible to give them. As one of the Indians sadly expressed it at a farewell dinner, listen what this Indian says. Listen, and we talk about reparations. America, United States, the world. Listen to what this Indian says after him and three other Indians traveled, 2,000 miles? And they asked for the white man's book, the book of heaven. He says at a farewell dinner, my people sent me to get the white man's book of heaven. You took me to where you allow your woman to dance as we do not ours. And the book was not there. You took me to where they worship the Great Spirit with candles, but the book was not there. You showed me images of the good spirits and pictures of the good land beyond, but the book was not among them to tell us the way. My God. You make my feet heavy with gifts, yet the book is not among them. Of the 4 Indians, only one survived. The rigors of the journey to report his failures to his people. Let me read that again. Of the 4 Indians, only one survived. The rigors of the journey to report his failure to his people. It is natural that mission circles see in this story, and I quote, the hunger of the heathen heart for the true word of God, end quote. But it would be surprising if the Indians had not possessed other understandings of what a book could do, understandings that would have shocked many a missionary and perhaps explain in part the former Catholic practice of avoiding indiscriminate distribution of the Bible. My whole life's mission has to been understand the wisdom of this God that we seek. Since I was a little kid, those who have been in the village that I grew up in know this. The elders of that town know this. My family knows this. So imagine how I feel when I know it's my mission to teach the people of this time in the Aquarian age. And you have to understand that the knowledge that you have to teach has been right there in front of their face the whole time. But since they have been doctrines for so many years of only to read this and not those, they don't even want to read no more. They have been so programmed so well that they don't even want to read. They just want to get money, pay bills, and live life and hope that there is something on the other side that can comfort them. Not knowing that before you even get to heaven, you must die. You must be reborn again to get to heaven. Meaning that you must first come into the true knowledge of God before you can even enter the realms of heaven. And I'm going to have to do a part 2. I'm going to have to. In particular, primal cultures, there might be other factors at work to create the basic interpretation of the Christian religion and its scriptures, besides the 4 very well spread factors that we have indicated. These led to the disappointment with Christianity. The disappointment with Christianity that often marks the 2nd and 3rd generation and that runs parallel to the disillusionment with many of the white man's schemes for social and economic development after the first high and unrealistic hopes. Whether these schemes came through colonial administrations or now under newly independent governments, clear indications of this occur among the cargo cultists of Papua New Guinea. As a commentator of the Peli, and I spell P-E-L-I cult, as a commentator of the Peli cult put it, the local people had tried all the government schemes of the whites without achieving anything like equality with the whites. Let me read that again. As a commentator on the Peli cult put it, the local people had tried all the government schemes of the whites without achieving anything like equality with the whites. Let me read that again. As a commentator on the Pelion, that's spelled P-E-L-I cult, put it, the local people had tried all the government schemes of the whites without achieving anything like equality with the whites. They had undertaken cash cropping with the rice, peanuts, and coffee and secured a little cash income. Their young men had walked an hour and a half to school daily for 6 or 7 years and now hung around the village unemployed. They had accepted the setting up of a local government council, but all it did was collect taxes and the roads were worse than 15 years ago. A chain letter quick get rich scheme called Australian Bonanza has raised new hopes and secured a big response and must have been the real road to affluence and power for government went and banned it. So they had turned back to their old magician religious methods in a new money doubling cult. These disappointments arise partly from unfulfilled expectations, as with the New Caledonian, and I spell Caledonian, who complained to the first Marxist fathers, and I quote, "You do not give us rain. Your brothers, the white men, keep it away from us in their own country. Come and see our crops. They are dying. The ground is dry." The disappointments might also be due to over expectations. Listen to this. When the Queen of England paid a state visit to Sierra Leone in 1961, the rumor went round that England had not sent the real Queen, who would have grander clothes and not travel around in an open car so close to the people. The mystique was missing, kept back from the local people. My gosh. It is possible that this creed about the spiritual secrecy of the whites is encouraged by the reserved about religious matters characteristic of much modern white culture, and by the lack of any signs of religion on the part of whites who are for the most part non-believers, and who may even show hostility to it. It is concluded that the white man is deliberately hiding the secret spiritual power or declaring there is no such thing. Some white agnostics might be astonished if they knew mystic religion powers with which they are credited by their associates and primal cultures. In the general life and practice of Christian missionaries, there is much that is open to the kind of interpretation that we are examining. No matter how simple his lifestyle by his own standards or how little power of any kind he wields in his own country, in the eyes of primal society he appears rich and powerful, and this because of his religion. But when the local people accept the same religion, they remain weak and poor. Let me finish off right quick, because I'm going to have to do a part two. He may commence schools using his own European language and then for good educational reasons change to the use of the vernacular. Clearly, he has decided to protect the secrets contained in his own literature. Or he may concentrate on only significant literacy to read the scriptures and otherwise emphasize practical and manual training. As a result, those he has taught cannot share his full literacy. Excuse me, let me read that again. As a result, those he has taught cannot share his full literary wealth, nor do they have significant practical skills to make for themselves the wonderful technical equipment he possesses. My gosh. And we almost to an hour, so I'm going to read that again. And there's going to be a part two. There has to be. And for y'all, stop playing. I know y'all be watching. You're not just watching for the face. I know you're not. If you are, that's just sad. If you are getting the messages, if you are liking it, even if you are disliking it, leave a comment. The reason we having to sell as a spiritual beings because we're so egotistic. We don't want to learn past what we're supposed to learn past. We'd rather be dormant, get money, not even knowing what currency is. Currency, current energy. Once you break this stuff down, you will know that you are more than the worth that they are telling you you're worth. Come on, man. Y'all got to get it together, people. The same reason Christ died the way he died, the same reason people like me go out. Because we give you the teachings All y'all want to know is how you do the magical powers. You see me healing people, but you instead of me breaking it down slowly so you can understand the process of it, you just want the microwave healing, and that doesn't work that way. So let me end off with this. It is possible that this creed about the spiritual secrecy of the whites is encouraged by the reserve about religious matters characteristics of much modern white culture, and by the lack of any signs of religion on the part of whites who are for the most part non-believers, and who may even show hostility to it. It is concluded that the white man is deliberately hiding his secret spiritual power or declaring there is no such thing. Some white anagas might be astonished if they knew the mystic religion powers which they are credited by their associates in primal cultures. In the general life and practice of Christian missionaries, there is much that is open to the kind of interpretation that we are examining, no matter how simple his lifestyle by his own standards or how little power of any kind he wields in his own country. In the eyes of a primal society, he appears rich and powerful, and this because of his religion. But when the local people accept the same religion, they remain weak and poor. He may commence schools using his own European language, and then, for good educational reasons, change to the use of the vernacular. Clearly, he has decided to protect the secrets contained in his own literature. Or he may concentrate on only significant literacy to read the sculptures and otherwise, or he may concentrate on only significant literacy to read the scriptures and otherwise emphasize practical and manual training. As a result, those he has taught cannot share his full literary wealth, nor do they have significant practical skills to make for themselves the wonderful technical equipment he possesses. He may operate a trade store to bring basic Western goods with their reach and then close it. When mission policies turn against such trading or it has been replaced by secular commercial developments, he meets his own needs and then he closes this channel for the sharing of his wealth with them. Once the mental set, the cultural predisposition is there, his most innocent or entirely appropriate actions are open to interpretation as one more example or something being kept back from the local people. Now, I'm going to stop there. Shout out to the people who watched me. Everybody, like, you should have your own church. There is no need for any church, people. There should be no middleman for you and God. If you out there watching this feel that maybe I should have a lot of more support, then guess what? I got a cash app. $DarusCorbin. DarusCorbin. $DarusCorbin. If you feel that way, support the channel and everything that you guys put in there. I'm going to make sure it becomes bigger so you can get these teachings. You got to understand, we are at a time right now where you got to know you are better. You want to be successful in life? Control your thought forms. You are greater. You want to make it in this world? Control those thought forms. Take those negative thought forms out and know that you are greater. That's how you realize who God is. That's how you come one with Christ. You realize that ye too are gods and you too will and shall do greater things. So thank you for your time. It's always a pleasure. The DarusCorbin Mystery School. The DarusCorbin Mystery School. The home of the esoteric and the metaphysical knowledge. Thank you always for watching, my beautiful people. Stay blessed, stay loved, stay true to you. And I'm out. Till next time. Part 2 coming soon.